Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the full productivity guide for noobs. And I say that because if you're an absolute beginner, whether you're a student or an entrepreneur, this is for you, inshallah. If you want to actually be more productive and make more progress in every area of your life, this guide is for you. This is the guide for the Muslim men who genuinely just want to get like 1 week's worth of work done in one day. This is for the guys who want to be productive, not busy, who want to make as much progress as possible, as fast as possible. I'm also going to show you a realistic morning routine that you can have for yourself. And this is one that I've been doing for the longest time, alhamdulillah. And as well as a night routine to wind down after a productive day. Now, who is this guide not for? Just want to clarify that if you're already someone who's into productivity and you've kind of already learned to the fundamentals, this is not for you. This is for the people who are absolute beginners, inshallah. To show you that I'm actually productive, I do have a link down below that will take you to a page that gives you like all the proof you need to set aside all the doubts that you have about like, why should I listen to this guy? He hasn't achieved anything. And you might also be wondering, like, usually most productivity people have these like pictures behind them. I don't use none of that. That's a productivity thing we'll get to later, inshallah. Now, I want to also clarify that as Muslims, it doesn't make sense for us to keep taking advice from Western people. Even though, for example, Hamza, Huberman, Hormozi, Triple H, even though they have very nice advice that does work, we have to take advice from the most influential man to have ever existed, which is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I've experimented for quite some time, for the past 2 years and a half, what productivity advice actually works. I've done the work for you. I've done the process of elimination to see what is a lie and what actually works to help you become more productive. So I've done that for you. All you have to do is almost like turn off your brain and just listen to the advice that I'm about to give you, inshallah. There's one thing I need to tell you before we actually start. And the smart, intelligent Muslim man will make sure that this is the absolute, non-negotiable foundation thing that he's going to apply before he starts anything. And it's the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's by His permission that you become a productive person. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Yani there's no transition or power except with Allah. So there's no transition, meaning you can't transition from a procrastinator to like someone who's extremely productive without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something to take into account. Without further ado, Bismillah. Chapter 1. What does productivity really mean? There's one quote that I like to remember all the time, and it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that like 90% of people who are trying to be productive always miss. The biggest misconception about productivity, like if I were to ask you right now, what's your definition of productivity? You'd probably say, not to waste time at all. Like you just want to be a machine. Every hour filled. No time wasted, right? But what if I told you that's actually wrong? There's an ayah in the Quran, Surah Al-Mulk. I'm going to recite the end of the ayah. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah doesn't say لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَكْثَرُ عَمَلًا. I'll translate if you're not Arabic, or if you don't speak Arabic. Allah doesn't say we created you to test you to see how much ibadah you can do. He said we created you to test you of your ihsan, the quality of your ibadah that you can do. Meaning, if you only do a small amount of things but have absolute 100% quality and ihsan in what you do, that is far more superior, far more productive than the guy who's actually doing as much as he can, like a robot. So that's pretty interesting, right? And if we can have 100% focus and 100% sincerity and quality in what we're doing, that's what's going to get you the most results possible anyway, even if you only do a little bit. That's the crazy part. So if you can agree with me, then if we can kind of change the way we see productivity, productivity is not working as hard as possible, but it's getting the highest amount of results possible. Because it's so easy to do the things that make you feel productive versus actually like being productive. Examples of feeling productive is meditating, journaling, cutting the grass, running some errands. I would actually argue maybe even learning. Extremely, extremely seductive. And I say seductive because it's tempting to be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna watch something beneficial. Like that's productive. Not productive at all. Especially if you're not gonna like you know yourself. You're not gonna take action after you learn. You're just like you already know. You already know you're just watching to procrastinate anyway. And examples of actually like being productive is doing the hard work. The thing that you're trying to avoid, if you can actually do that, that's probably productive. If it takes a lot of mental energy, maybe it's deep work for like putting a lot of mental energy into studying. Maybe if you're in school, if you're an entrepreneur, that means learning a high value skill. So we just have to make sure that we understand exactly what it is to feel productive and to actually be productive. Because being busy with like the 5% small, irrelevant tasks that are going to get you almost no results anyway, even if you invest a lot of time into it, like they actually don't even require that much mental energy. Those things are going to give you the lowest amount of ROI, like the lowest return on investment possible ever. So then being productive means doing the task that requires a lot of mental energy. And I know it's kind of like hard for you right now. Maybe you're overstimulated. Maybe you have all these bad habits going on. And it feels hard to focus. And it feels hard to use your mental effort. You feel like you're brain dead for a long time. We'll get to that in a second. But just for now, understand that being productive and actually doing the thing that requires a lot of mental effort, that's the thing that's going to get you the highest ROI, the highest return on investment. And if there's one pattern that I realized, and you probably can confirm this, it's that procrastination occurs when negative emotions are greater than the positive emotions. And action occurs when the positive emotions are greater than the negative emotions. So, not, and I don't mean to say this like in a feminine way. It's just when you tell yourself to focus on the task, when you tell yourself to avoid eating junk food, to avoid going on social media, to avoid scrolling on YouTube shorts or whatever it is that you scroll on. When you tell yourself, you're telling yourself logically. But the thing is, you still end up doing it anyway. Because temptations are not a logical problem. Temptations are an emotional problem. An action step I want to give you is to choose one out of the four things that I'm about to list to you. And these four things increase the negative emotions and make it greater than the positive emotions. And we just learned that the greater the negative emotions you have, you're probably going to procrastinate, no doubt. The four things that increase your negative emotions are bad sugar, bad carbs, overeating, and social media. Social media is hyper stimulating. So, what I want you to do, like literally right now, make the choice to drastically reduce one of these four. If you can do that, that's a great first step, inshallah. Before we end off this chapter, I want to introduce to you something extremely important. And it's two things. An undisciplined nafs is the reason why you keep going back to these bad habits. It's the reason why you procrastinate. It is greedy for comfort. It doesn't care about you, it doesn't care about your goals, it doesn't care about what Allah wants. It just cares about pleasure. And a man who lacks purpose distracts himself with pleasure. Now, before you get very defensive and say, oh, I have purpose, we're on our deen. We already have our purpose, we're fine. But the thing is, you're probably doing bare minimum, and you already know that. So before you get so defensive, just stay a little bit open-minded, inshallah. The last thing I wanted to mention was that coupled with an untrained nafs is we have something called dopamine. I'm sure you've heard of it before, but again, if you're an absolute beginner to productivity, there's something called dopamine. Every time you do a bad habit, preferably or probably a bad habit always feels good anyway. That dopamine is that feel good chemical in your brain. Anytime you do something that feels good is dopamine. The more dopamine you have, the worse like your brain actually functions. And the worse your brain is, then more likely you're unable to focus. You're unable to have more willpower. You're unable to be logical. And when you're not logical, you're more likely to be more emotional. And if we're more emotional and impulsive, then we're more likely to go to the bad habits. And then it's just this cycle that Shaitan is like zooming out and he's just watching us mess up ourselves. Because an undisciplined nafs, like Shaitan feeds that. He also makes these bad habits appear to be pleasurable. So subhanAllah, as of right now, this is the end of chapter 1, and this is the absolute foundation that you need to understand. Chapter 2, deep work. If you take this part of the guide and neglect the rest of the guide, this chapter alone will increase your productivity by 80% easily. 90% of people don't do this. So if you do this, and you're a smart Muslim guy, if you do this and only this, it'll put you ahead of 90% of people, inshallah. Genuinely. Deep work means focusing on the hardest task of the day for just a few hours. That's it. This is the type of work that requires you to have all of your mental energy channeled to this one task. This is the thing that feels hard to do. This is the thing that you probably avoid most of the time. And that task is also known as eat the frog task, which is the hardest task of the day, the most important, the thing that's going to give you the highest amount of results possible if you only focus on this thing. And to find this eat the frog task, I want you to remember something called the 80-20 rule, which says that the 20% thing that you do is going to get you 80% of the results. This concept applies to everything in life if you just think about it. You probably, the 20% shoes that you probably wear 80% of the time. The 20% clothes you probably wear, like the clothes you're wearing now, how much you want to bet you probably wear it 80% of the time. Like that's how sick the rule is. 20% of YouTubers that you probably watch 80% of the time. The 20% of food that you eat, you probably eat 80% of the time. See what I mean? So we have to apply this rule to productivity. To find your eat the frog task, the hardest, most important task that will get you the highest results possible, we have to use the 80-20 rule. For example, in the gym, we all know that the compound movements are probably the most important like exercises that you can do in the gym. So the 80-20 rule says that the 20%, let's say the gym example, the 20% of exercises that you do are going to get you 80% of the results. And those are the compound movements. That's the 80-20 thing for the gym. So we kind of have to apply this rule for productivity. So to find the eat the frog task for you, I want you to ask yourself one question. What is the one most important, hardest task that if you only did that, you can still have incredible results? That one question applies to any area of your life, inshallah. Or another question that I really like to ask myself is, if you only had a few hours a week to work, what would that thing be that you'd work on? Notice how this ties back to chapter 1. Notice how this has nothing to do with the small irrelevant tasks that get you almost no progress or no results. We're dealing with the hardest thing. And I know that seems almost intimidating because you feel like you've been struggling. Obviously, you procrastinate doing the hard thing. Something that, and this is probably the greatest productivity advice ever on the entire planet, ever. The greatest productivity hack that I can give you to avoid feeling that like mental tension, to actually like trigger your brain to be focused, to actually want to work. The greatest productivity hack that I can give you, and it actually works and is reliable and is sustainable, is fasting. I always make sure I'm in a fasted state before I do my eat the frog task. And the reason why I say that is because for me, maybe for you as well, that anytime I eat something small, or like anytime I eat something sugary as well, even if it's a small amount, it's like my brain just turns off. I don't know why. Actually, I do know exactly why. Because the sugar is it's like literally poison to the brain. It makes me like it actually makes me dumb. And for the longest time, I used to think like I have low willpower, I'm such a failure, I can't control myself. But the thing is, these sugary foods have like literally manipulate your hunger hormone to make you want to eat more, even though you're full. So it's not that you have low willpower. It's just you're eating the thing that's decreasing your willpower. So when I eat before deep work, before eat the frog task, or if I watch social media, like you can also fast not just from food, but fast from anything that increases your dopamine. Any fast from anything that gives you that feel good feeling. The absolute fundamental thing that you need to understand as a beginner is exactly this. Be in a fasted state before you work. Get the most important thing done to guarantee that you're going to make progress. Fasting drastically lowers your chances of procrastinating. And if you, like a weak little Muslim guy, complains that you're hungry when you're in a fasted state and that you can't focus, that's just because your undisciplined nafs is crying like a little baby. We need to train it and discipline it. Being like humbling your nafs is being generous to it. You need to humble it. You need to humble yourself. This fasting is literally the greatest productivity hack that you can ever use. Ever. And I've just given you the answer. But you're going to sit here and go, oh, I'm too hungry. I can't use it. I can't focus. Literally fasting. Like, look at the high performers. They are not even Muslim. Hamza Ahmed, Tate, Hermosi, Dan Coe. There's a pattern I've realized with all these non-Muslim high performers is that they literally fast until they do their eat the frog task. They fast all day even. Like they eat at the end of the day. That's just another level of productivity, right? I'm just saying, don't eat. Stay in a fasted state until you finish the eat the frog task. That's it. You haven't had anything hyper-stimulating to increase your dopamine. You haven't eaten any bad sugar, bad carbs. You haven't overeaten. Remember, those were the 4 things that we said to drastically reduce. And you've eliminated all 4. And if you can do that just before the deep work session, before doing the eat the frog task, you're good, inshallah. It drastically lowers your chances to procrastinate. I promise you that. Like, think about it. Why does Allah say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. It says that He made fasting obligatory on you and the Muslims before you, so that way you can increase your consciousness of Allah. And I know this, like, obviously fasting, and this ayah specifically means fasting for Ramadan. It's obligatory. But we can take that concept and apply it to productivity. Fasting has a direct correlation to increasing your consciousness. And the highest level of consciousness is being aware of Allah, having taqwa. Another way to frame consciousness is that fasting increases your mindfulness. The more mindful and aware you are, the more likely you are to make the smarter decision. The more likely you are to be less impulsive. So far, just to summarize where we're at, eat the frog is the hardest task of the day. It's the most important. It's the 20% thing that's going to get you 80% of the results. And it requires a lot of mental energy. It's the thing you procrastinate most of the time. So, the biggest, greatest productivity hack that we can do to drastically reduce the chances of procrastinating it is fasting. Increases willpower, increases creativity, decreases impulsivity, increases your mindfulness, drastically improves your focus. And I've found that fasting also helps you to get in the flow while you're working much easier. And it helps you to stay in the flow for longer. SubhanAllah, it's literally, this is all just tied to your focus and not procrastinating, let alone decreasing shaitan's influence, training your nafs, mental toughness. This is the greatest productivity. It's like a 10 in 1. It's probably more benefits than 10, but it's like a 10 in 1 productivity hack. It's the most ultimate, greatest, powerful productivity hack ever. And a pro tip I want to give you to make sure that you genuinely don't procrastinate the eat the frog task is to get specific on exactly what the eat the frog task is. A pro tip I want to give you is actually a sunnah to also increase your productivity. There's a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, "My ummah has barakah in the early mornings." I just paraphrased, but there's barakah in the early mornings. If we can have barakah in our eat the frog task, then that's just like productivity stacking. That's going to help us even more. Because barakah, the way I like to define it, is obviously it's a little bit hard to comprehend because we can't see it, but it's something we can feel. You don't have to really remember this, but it's important because barakah simply means less is more. And when Allah puts barakah in something, it's like a divine multiplier that will amplify anything in the thing that Allah puts barakah in, whether it's your work, your time, your energy, or you as a person. So it's genuinely insane. So obviously, as a procrastinator, it's kind of hard. You might find it hard to stay up after Fajr or do deep work after Fajr. The whole point is, if you can do it, great. If you can't, no problem. You'll level up later, inshallah. But the point is to just be in a fasted state before you actually do eat the frog task. To finish off this chapter, I just want you to know that a focused fool can accomplish more than a distracted genius. You could be a genius, but if you're distracted, you ain't getting nothing done. I don't care if you're a genius, you ain't getting nothing done. So you could literally, IQ could be literally 50. I don't care. Intelligence has nothing to do with productivity. And I myself feel like I'm actually dumb sometimes. But that's because all these bad habits make you feel that way. So if you can eliminate the things that make you feel dumb, just until you do the eat the frog task, you're good, inshallah. This is what I found to genuinely help me never procrastinate the eat the frog task and help me to achieve as much progress as possible. It's very simple. Fajr and Quran. 2 pages of Quran. This is what I found myself being able to stick with. At first, this is all I did, just Fajr and Quran. No deep work, no nothing. Then when I got into productivity, I started stacking on top of these 2 habits already. And the habit that I added after praying Fajr praying Quran. I'm assuming you already do these. This is not a course on how to get on your deen. I'm assuming you're already a good Muslim. And if you don't pray, this is genuinely, like, I don't think I have to mention this. You already know. It's an absolute non negotiable. Like, you have to revolve your day around the 5 salawat. And you already know this. But I'm taking the perspective of you already having deen, but you want to excel in other areas of your life as well, in deen and outside of deen. See what I'm saying? So after you pray Fajr, after you read Quran, what I do is go outside and get some morning sunlight. There's a lot of like science behind this, and Huberman has a lot of like a lot of stuff to back his claim that morning sunlight reduces like anxiety, it sets your circadian rhythm, and it has a lot to do with also waking you up. Like, that's what I found. Like, it just wakes you up, makes you feel good. It increases more positive emotions. And don't cheat. You can't look out the sun through the window. It doesn't have the same effect. Or if you're wearing glasses as well, like, just take it off. You don't have to look directly at the sun like a dum dum. Just get the sunlight in your eyes. You can be looking straight, you can be looking down, as long as you get some sunlight in your eyes, inshallah. For a few months, all I did was just add 15 minutes of morning sunlight to my morning routine. And I actually enjoyed it, and I felt that's how much I could handle. And I didn't even think about adding anything else to it until I felt like I wanted to, and until I felt ready. The thing I added was morning adhkar. Few months, stayed consistent, then I felt ready to add deep work. Like a gradual build up. It didn't happen overnight. You just have to find the thing that you genuinely enjoy. Don't overburden yourself. It's pretty simple. Eat the frog task should be the number one priority for you. And if you're wondering like how long should you be spending doing like deep work, doing the eat the frog task, as a beginner, it's going to be very hard for you to focus. But focus is a skill. It's going to take time to improve this skill. Set a timer so you can actually measure like your focus skill. If you can only do 30 minutes, the next time you do deep work, set the timer to 40. After 30 minutes, or after whenever it is that you feel that you want to get distracted, that you feel that you can't focus, that it feels hard, you get irritated, agitated, you start scratching, that you want to leave this hard work, that's exactly when you should actually stay. Almost, you kind of have to like train yourself, train your nafs to stay focused. What I want you to do is, let's say that focus is very high when you first start doing the work, and then it dips very quickly. Let's say that dip starts at 30 minutes. The next time you do deep work, time yourself for 40 minutes. You're going to feel that dip at 30, but continue to focus and work until the 40-minute mark hits. Keep doing that until the dip, you feel the dip at 40 minutes. Once you get used to 40 minutes, then incrementally increase the time and just repeat that process. You're going to feel the mental tension. You're going to feel the agitation of wanting to leave. That's exactly when you just stay for an extra 5-10 minutes. Give it a few weeks. You're going to be able to focus much more than you are able to right now. Eat the frog task should be the number one priority for you. And if you're wondering like how long should you be spending doing like deep work, doing the eat the frog task, as a beginner, it's going to be very hard for you to focus. But focus is a skill. It's going to take time to improve this skill. Set a timer so you can actually measure like your focus skill. If you can only do 30 minutes, the next time you do deep work, set the timer to 40. After 30 minutes, or after whenever it is that you feel that you want to get distracted, that you feel that you can't focus, that it feels hard, you get irritated, agitated, you start scratching, that you want to leave this hard work, that's exactly when you should actually stay. Almost, you kind of have to like train yourself, train your nafs to stay focused. What I want you to do is, let's say that focus is very high when you first start doing the work, and then it dips very quickly. Let's say that dip starts at 30 minutes. The next time you do deep work, time yourself for 40 minutes. You're going to feel that dip at 30, but continue to focus and work until the 40-minute mark hits. Keep doing that until the dip, you feel the dip at 40 minutes. Once you get used to 40 minutes, then incrementally increase the time and just repeat that process. You're going to feel the mental tension. You're going to feel the agitation of wanting to leave. That's exactly when you just stay for an extra 5-10 minutes. Give it a few weeks. You're going to be able to focus much more than you are able to right now. Chapter 3. A realistic morning routine that you can try. I know it's hard for you to stick to a routine you've tried many times and failed, and that's okay. I don't want you to give up. I want you to keep trying. It's just a matter of time before things like start to click for you, inshallah. And again, it's by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. I want you to remove this idea or this expectation that you're setting on yourself to have this perfect routine, to have this perfect morning routine. Because that's exactly what's ruining your productivity. To have the perfect day, to find the perfect routine. That perfectionist mindset is what's actually unintentionally overwhelming you. You're very ambitious, mashallah. But we just need to be realistic. It's very simple. Fajr and Quran. 2 pages of Quran. This is what I found myself being able to stick with. At first, this is all I did, just Fajr and Quran. No deep work, no nothing. Then when I got into productivity, I started stacking on top of these 2 habits already. And the habit that I added after praying Fajr, praying Quran, I'm assuming you already do these. This is not a course on how to get on your deen. I'm assuming you're already a good Muslim. And if you don't pray, this is genuinely, like, I don't think I have to mention this. You already know. It's an absolute non-negotiable. Like, you have to revolve your day around the 5 salawat. And you already know this. But I'm taking the perspective of you already having deen, but you want to excel in other areas of your life as well. In deen and outside of deen. See what I'm saying? So after you pray Fajr, after you read Quran, what I do is go outside and get some morning sunlight. There's a lot of like science behind this, and Huberman has a lot of stuff to back his claim that morning sunlight reduces like anxiety, it sets your circadian rhythm, and it has a lot to do with also waking you up. Like, that's what I found. Like, it just wakes you up, makes you feel good. It increases more positive emotions. And don't cheat. You can't look out the sun through the window. It doesn't have the same effect. Or if you're wearing glasses as well, like, just take it off. You don't have to look directly at the sun like a dum-dum. Just get the sunlight in your eyes. You can be looking straight, you can be looking down, as long as you get some sunlight in your eyes, inshallah. For a few months, all I did was just add 15 minutes of morning sunlight to my morning routine. And I actually enjoyed it, and I felt that's how much I could handle. And I didn't even think about adding anything else to it until I felt like I wanted to, and until I felt ready. The thing I added was morning adhkar. A few months, stayed consistent, then I felt ready to add deep work. Like a gradual build-up. It didn't happen overnight. You just have to find the thing that you genuinely enjoy. Don't overburden yourself. It's pretty simple. Sleep routine. There's something I've realized. It's said that sleep is the foundation of mental health. We all already hear this kind of stuff and we're just like, yeah, we already know, we don't really care, even though we should. I've realized that optimizing your sleep optimizes your energy levels. Having optimized energy drastically optimizes your productivity. So if you're someone who has like bad sleep quality, you sleep late, you eat before you sleep, etc., you're ruining your testosterone, which is a key chemical. It's like the masculine hormone that's needed to increase ambition, motivation, determination, everything. It heavily ties to productivity. When you have bad sleep quality, you're ruining your testosterone, you're ruining your mental clarity, and you're ruining your energy. You're increasing the negative emotions that you feel. And if we have a greater amount of negative emotions that we feel, the more likely we are to procrastinate. And by the way, I want to clarify that the best routine isn't what I say. The best routine isn't what Hamza Ahmed says or whoever influencer that you watch, whatever productivity advice that you get. The best routine is the one that you can actually stick to for years. Like it's the one that you enjoy the most. It's the one that makes you feel the best. It's the one that optimizes your productivity. What I like and what I prefer and what I do might be very different from what you like and what you want. Mine is just absolute fundamental stuff that are like I find to be non-negotiable. This is what works for me. There's a lot of tips and tricks that you can use, but the best thing is genuinely just what helps you feel the best. The whole point of the night routine or the sleep routine is to wind down, to prepare you to have the best sleep quality, bi'idhnillah, so that way it sets you up for the next days, for the next morning. The best thing that you can do to wind down is not to relax. It's not to scroll on your phone. It's not to eat dessert or whatever. Like whatever it is that you do to relax. You can definitely do those things because it's towards the end of the day. And if you do deep work, the eat the frog task in the morning, you've already channeled and used your mental energy towards the most important thing. So you can do the things just a little bit. And I know this sounds contrary to a lot of advice, and it sounds like we're being weak, or I'm letting you off, or I'm giving you permission to slack off on the bad habits. But I'm coming from the perspective of being realistic. As a absolute beginner, such as yourself, you need to be realistic, is what I'm saying. And if you're just going to cut off everything cold turkey, then you'd be super productive right now. You wouldn't be watching this. So what I'm saying is let's be realistic. At least cut off the bad stuff in the beginning of the day. You can delay it towards the end, but I'm just trying to say that relaxing does not mean being on your phone, chilling on the couch. I'm saying there are different ways that you can relax. You probably already know that. But those things actually stimulate the mind. Like especially eating sugar, going on social media, those things actually make your mind work without you realizing. That's why I'm just saying just be careful of that. So the best way to wind down, the best sleep routine for me that you can try as well, is to simply have 15 minutes of evening sunlight. To have exercised in the day has a lot to do with actually preparing your sleep. To exercise in the day, to get 15 minutes of evening sunlight, no food before sleep at all. Because if you do that, you're actually going to use energy. Like your body, while you're sleeping, your body's going to use energy to digest the food that you ate before you slept. That's going to ruin your sleep. It's going to ruin your next day. It's going to ruin your productivity. You do not want to do that. I've messed up so many times doing that. And genuinely, non negotiable. Just, I'd rather be hungry than mess up how I feel like productivity wise. The last thing is people say no bright screens. I disagree. You can use your phone, but make sure it's on night. What is it called? Night shift, night mode. It's a specific setting that makes your screen go from like being super bright, super colorful, and being a blue screen to just warming the color, where it has like an orange type of tone, orange type of screen to it. You're not making it colorless. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just making the screen much warmer. That's much easier on the eyes. It's as if you're wearing like blue light glasses. I found that if I use my phone or if I don't use my phone before I sleep, I still have the same quality of sleep. And something I try my best to do is not fall asleep while I'm saying specific dhikr that is meant to increase your energy for the next day. There's a famous hadith. I'm going to paraphrase, but say subhanallah 33 times, alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 44 times. You're going to have energy for the next day, inshallah. Like unmatched energy, inshallah. You genuinely, it's so much barakah in your energy, it's crazy. That's about it. I'm going to summarize it real quick. Exercise, no food before sleep, non negotiable. You do not want to mess up your sleep. 15 minutes of evening sunlight. And what else? Make sure if you're going to use your phone, make sure, non negotiable as well, that it's on night mode or it's a very, very, like the warmest setting that you can set it to. And those are the main things, honestly. That's what works for me. That's what I found the best from my experimenting, from what I learned, from what I'm able to stick to. And so, what I advise for you is to experiment for yourself a little bit. See what you like. You don't have to do these things. You don't tell yourself that you should be doing what I'm about to tell you. Just tell yourself, you know what? Let me just try one thing. Let me experiment. Let me see what I like. Let me see what I don't like. Let me see what helps me to actually be productive. I'm giving you the best. Like as a productivity noob, I'm giving you the best advice that I would give my younger self first starting out. Like this is all you need. And what I advise you to do is to just try out a couple of stuff. Don't tell yourself that you should be doing this or should be doing that. That's what opens the mental loop of just being overwhelmed very quickly. So just try one thing at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. Make dua, try your best. Let me know if you have any questions, inshallah. You can DM me always. And that's the end of this chapter. Okay, and that's the end of the productivity course for my Muslim bros who are trying to become productive beasts, inshallah. We went through some misconceptions about productivity, what it really is, having a realistic morning routine, night routine, deep work, how to get 1 week's worth of work done in 1 hour. Get in the flow easily and stay in the flow for longer without needing too much willpower. Inshallah, if you apply this advice, you're already, just this by itself, you're already going to make so much progress. Inshallah. You become more confident, get closer to Allah, get closer to your goals. Alright, Jazakallah khair for watching. And check out my free school community. This will be in there. Many more things to come, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.